Consciousness and mind. Consciousness is the root, embodied experience, the flower. The author. Generally, little or no thought is given to the important distinction between consciousness and mind. We know that our mind, in its vast complexity, is the accumulated knowledge of our multifaceted brain. We know that it has a beginning and therefore must have an ending. There is clear evidence that it begins to form even before our birth. The mind is formed in relation to its human genes and its environment, and functions within a range of intellectual frequencies, particular to our so-called physical plane of being. It is individual and unique, and is also multi-tiered. Consciousness is a dramatically different matter. Having no beginning, it can therefore have no ending. It cannot accumulate, diminish, nor in any way change or respond to any form of stimulus. It is all-pervasive, inseparable, and impersonal. Yet, it is the source, the foundation, the background for individuality and personality, as well as all else. It experiences neither birth nor death, and is unaffected by either. Consciousness has no faculties, therefore no means of assessment, reason, or reaction to our experience. It has no involvement in our likes or dislikes, our pain or pleasure, our life or death. These things are not of its nature. It is as impersonal as the light of the sun or that of a lamp. It has no distinguishing capacity. Yet, without it, there could be neither man nor universe. Another term for its nature is infinite awareness, and so elusive is its presence, it is not perceived by our mental faculties, from which they and all existence derive. So accustomed is the mind in its outward focus to perceive and distinguish the surrounding phenomena, it does not recognize conscious awareness as a precondition. It would seem that awareness and perception are one and the same thing, or at least that they are fused into one and the same thing. But this is not the case. Even when our mind attempts to perceive the distinction between itself and consciousness, the latter is so subtle it seems nowhere to be found. Here lies the difference between the intellectual approach of seeking knowledge from the object plane and that of learning to go directly to its source in the subtleties of the subjective domain of silence. We of the Western world have not been taught that all knowledge is accessible from both directions. Though the scientist who works in his lab and the sage who sits alone in some remote area in deep silence may each come to the same understanding, the sage has the greater advantage as he can reach knowledge far beyond the capacity of the intellect. Conscious awareness could be likened to an infinite and invisible field of countless idea seeds or seed concepts which rise out of this subjective physical state to flower in the objective outer world of so-called substance and experience. It is a fascinating and miraculous process, and not at all as it appears. Thus, we see that consciousness is not a part of our mind, but its true source, its root, its origin, its foundation. Yet, they function together as a unit, and though consciousness is the base, nothing can reach its elevation. Sometime in the not-too-distant future, educators will be aware that there is nothing more fundamental or useful than to study and teach the laws of silence. The greatest minds of whom there is record became great not by developing the intellect, but in learning to use it to transcend itself. The two should go hand in hand. Both are needed. It is interesting to observe the vast differences between the mental development and conscious awareness of the three major groups of human evolution. The Bushman, restrained only by law from his practices. The great majority of humanity, attempting to broaden its understanding and to advance on all fronts, and the all too few enlightened sages of the world to whom the mysteries have revealed their secrets. Even centuries are a short period in which to discern any noteworthy progress in the evolution of the mind. It seems to advance in groups and subgroups. Ours appears to be the age of science and technology, and it could be rightly said that our advances in these fields surpass our ability to live together in peace and mutual service. We are painfully lacking in the teaching and practice of ethical culture, yet great strides are being made in the compassionate endeavour of some segments of the human family. Dr. Rayner Johnson, astrophysicist and retired Master of Queen's College, Melbourne, Australia, with whom I had the honour of addressing a large New York audience, asks, "Where is consciousness? Is not consciousness extraspatial? It is a fundamental idea which cannot be defined, yet without it, nothing else can be defined. We wonder about its source and location, but it has no source, and its presence is everywhere. It is the one and only question without an answer. It is unanswerable. All else is knowable." So important, yet so subtle, is the nature of consciousness. Not even the most brilliant intellects can find a way to approach it. It has long been discussed by the most learned of men, but with no conclusive or satisfying results. Each side remains with its opposing views. The problem lies in our mental frequencies. They are much too weak to penetrate into the lower and highest dimensions of manifest existence. Yet we each have the capacity to transcend our intellect and experience the very essence of the mysteries. One certainty: no amount of discussion can resolve the matter. It is equal to the attempt to light the heavens with a match. Manly Hall said of the process, "Man first passes from a subconscious unity to a semi-conscious diversity, and then from the semi-conscious diversity to a conscious unity." In other words, down through the lowlands of involution, across the plains of evolution, and up through the highlands back to our source. Meanwhile, be kindly, be loving, and be happy. For our thoughts are creating the quality of our experience. Awareness contains the universe. The mystery of man is imperceptible to the senses or to any human power. St. John of the Cross. End of this chapter.